Barbara and Cosme star in a flurry of Eastern Pacific activity on tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for June 9th. Well, I've not been around very much recently, but the tropics are starting to wake up in earnest in the Eastern Pacific, where there are not one but two tropical storms active and possibly another one on the way near the end of the week into this coming weekend. Barbara is forecast to become a hurricane, whilst Cosme will be lingering further out to sea. In the Atlantic on day 9 of hurricane season, there's quite thankfully no areas of interest to be looking at right now, so who knows how long that will last for. For the time being though, the Atlantic is in the clear. Severe weather still having quite a dominant presence in the US right now. In the Eastern Pacific, we've had 3 storms now this year. Quite busy early season, it has to be said, in terms of the names. We're really well ahead there. Tropical Storm Cosme as well could also get stronger later on down the line, depending on the uncertainty, and a 50% behind all that for later in the week. Western Pacific, we've currently got this system here, area of interest into the South China Sea. GFS very strong on this one, but other models not quite on board. We're giving it a 60% chance of forming, as we have done for quite a while, as it's been moving through the Philippines. In the North Indian Ocean, we've got no areas of interest to track right now. I think those chances of getting our first named storm over there in the early season have now eluded us, but we'll keep watching that area. Big thunderstorm there over Western India. Southern Hemisphere, just to show you what it's looking like right now, and I can tell you it is dead. Shut down for the winter time down there in the Southwest Indian Ocean. Very clear picture, it has to be said, here on this view, all across Africa and into the Indian Ocean. And in the Australian region, it's quite a similar picture, it has to be said. Very little cloud cover as you look at the wider shot there. A few clouds towards the Pacific Islands, out towards the east, however. A few thunderstorms here and there, but mainly in the tropical zones, pretty much to be expected. Let's check in on Barbara then. A tropical storm, 60 mph winds. We're giving a pressure of 991 millibars near 16.8 north, 104.4 degrees west as of 6 p.m. Central Standard Time this June 8th. That's also Mexican time. It's 197 kilometers from Colola, 254 from Manzanillo, 441 from Puerto Vallarta, 756 from Mazatlan, and 892 from Cabo San Lucas. But the good news is it's moving westwards away from land, and the closest threat is actually right now as it passes close, relatively close, but not close enough to cause too much trouble. Satellite imagery shows a good structure to Barbara as we look at GOES 18 rapid scan at this point. Northeastern side may be looking slightly bare, and convection has started to fall away a little bit in the more recent frames. Here's some more imagery from the Forster team website, which you can check in at any time. It's definitely producing some thunderstorms and influencing the weather along the coast of Mexico, but this is Barbara right now. We're looking for a potential eye appearing out of this somewhere. The National Hurricane Center are expecting it to peak as a Category 1 hurricane, but at the minute it does look like it's struggling a little bit. That big burst of convection not holding on for very long, but you can see that structure underneath there at first on that imagery. It looks quite well rounded below all of that convection. Here's a wide shot and only partial with this particular image, but you can see both storms right at the top of your screen there. Quite close proximity to each other, which is going to be a problem potentially for both of them. Cosme, a 45 mph tropical storm right now, estimated pressure 996 millibars. It will only ever remain at sea, but right now it does look like it's being sheared heavily by Barbara off towards the northeast. So Cosme is going to be withering underneath Barbara's influence at the moment, but the other storm, Barbara, is likely to die off quite quickly as it passes to near the southern part of Baja California, and Cosme may have a second wind after that if it's still there. And this is Invest 92W, a 60% chance on this one now. 17.7 north, 117.8 east, puts it just west of Luzon in the Philippines. A few thunderstorms over there, but most of it is now at sea. But certainly indications that this could produce quite a lot of rainfall, whether it forms or not, for the Hainan, Lizu Peninsula, Guangdong region of China. So it could be a massive rainmaker for that area. Whether or not it actually gets some strength going, that remains to be seen. It's going to really depend on what it manages to do structurally in the next probably 48 hours or so in the South China Sea with those really warm sea surface temperatures. Let's take a look at some wide shots then across the US East Coast, looking out over the Atlantic. You can see a frontal system moving through the coastal regions there, and this is the Caribbean region. A few thunderstorms there off the coast of Nicaragua, a little bit of a tropical low, but not too much going on. Looking towards Africa for our potential Cape Verde type systems. It's still very early in the season for that, but there's some thunderstorms over there. And those are two storms in the Eastern Pacific on the left hand side. Barbara and Cosme looking quite good on this particular enhancement, or unenhancement as it actually is. And this is 92W then off the Philippines. Massive amounts of moisture off to its southwest, reaching Vietnam now as a matter of fact, even though the center, if it had one, is still very close to the Philippines. And this is the Bay of Bengal region. Not too much going on there, but some big thunderstorms off the western coast of India. South and West Indian Ocean, as we've been talking about, pretty quiet, although South Africa looks like there's a few storms occurring there towards the eastern coast. And this is the Australian region, a frontal system just off the southwestern part of Western Australia, and some unsettled weather in New South Wales and Victoria. And this is the southern part of the southern Pacific, I should say, with some thunderstorms there off towards the Solomon Islands and Vanuatu. Looks like there's some thunderstorms. Look there on the radar, looking at the US, there's some severe weather going on today as well, especially in the South Plains. We'll take a proper look at this in just a second with the rapid scan imagery. There they are, some massive supercells there. Lots of severe thunderstorm warnings at the time of recording, and a few tornado warnings active as well right now, so potentially dangerous weather once again. Sea surface temperatures really bucking up now over the open Atlantic Ocean and off the US East Coast, up to 28 degrees along the current there, and in the Gulf of Mexico looking good as well, up towards 30 degrees Celsius. Eastern Pacific very warm, but as you can see towards the northwest there, falls off a steep decline, a cliff there for both of these storms when they end up moving up that way, so they're both on borrowed time, or should I say short windows. And this is the Western Pacific, extremely warm SSTs there in the Philippine Sea, up to 32 degrees Celsius, and the South China Sea as well for Invest 92W, looking good. North Indian Ocean still holding on to some very warm waters there as well, as cloud cover increases during these months of the monsoon. Those sea surface temperatures will gradually decline a little bit. Compared to average, this is how the world looks right now. The oranges are above average, the blues are below, and some significant cool pools there in the Eastern Pacific, really emphasizing how these storms are going to have to intensify quickly, and it's not probably not going to be longevity that's going to be a factor this season, or at least the start of this season. Atlantic looking good, Gulf of Mexico in particular, and the Western Atlantic above average, Western Pacific as well, Philippine Sea looking good. Oceanic heat content is also through the roof over large parts of the Philippine Sea, still waiting for that first Western Pacific storm. You sort of feel that the longer it goes on, the more likely it's going to be a big one. And in the Eastern Pacific, looking quite good actually for oceanic heat content in the areas that are warm enough, and that is at quite low latitudes, but it will suit Cosme right now, and to an extent Barbara. And the Atlantic, the Caribbean really starting to get up there as well, moderate to locally high values now on the Oceanic Heat Content Index, extending into the Gulf too, and a few more conducive areas now off the US East Coast. Well, this is what the GFS model has to say for both of these systems. I reckon the GFS has initialized both storms as being quite a bit stronger than what they actually are. So I'm a little bit skeptical on this particular run, at least with those peak intensities. GFS wants both of them to become a hurricane both hurricanes at some point in their lives. Barbara first, then it dies off, and then Cosme briefly manages there as it's curving up, following in Barbara's footsteps. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but both of them doing okay right now. They certainly could get to high-end tropical storm, and Barbara could still get to hurricane. And this is the Western Pacific. Now look at this, and a massive degree of caution on this, because the GFS is going bananas with this massive typhoon reaching the coast of China in the next 5 days. Other models are not yet on board, although some of them do have tropical storms, but certainly nothing at all to this effect. That's a borderline major category 3 typhoon right there, making landfall within the 5-day period. Massive skepticism on that. Really, obviously, look out for that, of course, but not to take it for granted that it's actually going to get that strong if it does at all. Structure is very important in the next 48 hours as to whether that actually verifies. Looking at rainfall though, I mean, that's more easier to predict. The system's active, it's producing significant thunderstorms right now, so there is obviously a bigger rain threat, and potentially up to 26 inches of rainfall there off the coast of Hainan Island. That is well over 600 millimeters of rainfall. And for the western Philippines there as well, looking at nearly just over 400 millimeters of rain in that period too, the 7-day period. Eastern Pacific in the moderate range, day 5 to 10. This is the 50% system that we've marked, and NHC have a medium chance on it as well behind these two storms. Well, there it is, plowing into the coast of Mexico this time as a hurricane, so maybe their luck is going to run out in pretty short order now, after we've already had 3 storms that have all missed. Looks like the next one has a chance of hitting if it does form. And longer range on that Western Pacific system moves well inland, it's out of the picture. North Indian Ocean trying a little crafty spin up there as well, just off the coast of Bangladesh, but we see that time and again on the models. Generally doesn't happen, but you never know. Could be a brief system out of that monsoonal mess that often occurs in the Bay of Bengal. But apart from that, nothing else in the Western Pacific, so the chances are really hinging on 92W. Scan the barcode and that will take you through to the Forster Team merch store, where you can take a look at all our items as well as our full season and individual store animations on request. You can check out all of our pages as well, ways to find Forster Team's outlets through our Linktree page. Well then, in the fantasy range, and it is fantasy because it is fantastic in that sense, not much actually to look at all, but there's a stalled frontal system there moving into the northern part of Mexico, and I think the GFS is trying to spin that up into a tropical cyclone there. You can see the arcing, but it struggles, it really does, and we're certainly not looking at anything like that massive storm that we were looking at a week ago or so in the Gulf of Mexico, a massive hurricane like we were looking at, and that's why we can't trust these models too much, and they can be very flip-floppy, and massive storm events can disappear in the blink of an eye, but everyone takes it as gospel. Well, what happened on this day? It was a significant situation on June 9th, 1998, where we had the Gujarat cyclone, which was making landfall in that province of India on the western coast, not far from the border with Pakistan. A strong Category 2 storm is what we put it as. JWC actually have that estimate as a Category 3, although the satellite imagery does not look particularly impressive. So we have that as a high-end Category 2 on this day 27 years ago. Well, back to today, we are code blue for those 2 active storms, and the Eastern Pacific is showing the Northern Hemisphere how it's done, and that is 27 and 28 to our storm tally for the year around the world. 92 on average per year. Next in the Atlantic is Andrea, Eastern Pacific, Delilah, Central Pacific, Iona. In the Western Pacific, it's still Wu Tip that's next on that list, and in the North Indian Ocean, it will be Shakti. Looking towards the Southern Hemisphere, time's running out for the Southwest Indian Ocean. Of course, the season is over, but those names will get refreshed on July 1st. For now, the next name is Lyra. In the Australian region, it's Fina, and in the South Pacific, it's Ermil. That's all from tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. We'll be back again tomorrow night.
Become an Ultimate Fan today.